we're going to discuss, say, a few words on the importance of tefillin, on the importance of a person every morning to wear his tefillin, to wrap his tefillin. What do they represent? What are the wrappings doing? What is the tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh? There's one box and straps on our arm, on our heads. How do they connect? What is the connection? Some make one bracha on both. Some make two brachas. There is a connection. You mustn't talk in between. What does it do for us, tefillin? And then we wrap the tefillin around our fingers. What does that do for us? And we say ve'irastichli, which is like we're engaging. It's like a ring that you put around your finger. What exactly is going on, and why is it so vital to put tefillin on? And do you know how I know how vital it is to put tefillin on? Because I ask sometimes guys, did you put tefillin on today? They say, not yet. I say, how long does it take? 2 minutes. So why haven't you done it yet? I don't know. In other words, there's such a strong Yetzer Hara to push it off. It must be so important. It must give you so much that the Yetzer Hara just makes you lazy. I don't know what there is to be lazy about. It's not so difficult. They're not so heavy, the tefillin. But they're so important, and that's why the Yetzer Hara wants to try his best to push you off from putting on tefillin. So what does tefillin represent? So before the prayer, before actually putting your tefillin on in your siddur, I hope you pray from a siddur that has a prayer. So you Sfadim, there's a L'Shem Yichud before you put your tefillin on, but there's a prayer. And the prayer discusses the background of what tefillin really are, what tefillin really is. You should say that L'Shem Yichud. You should say, or at least you should read it in English to see really what you're doing when you put tefillin on. There are commentaries that say that if you put tefillin on and you don't know what the tefillin are, b'chlal, or you're not thinking of what the tefillin represent, you might not even be performing the mitzvah of tefillin. So you have to know what tefillin is all about. And in that chapter, in that paragraph, you get the basic picture of what tefillin is all about. So what is tefillin all about? When you stretch your arms out to put tefillin on, what are you representing? What does that represent? Well, it's interesting that the mitzvah of tefillin was given to us at the end of Parshas Boy. Parshas Boy is the parasha of leaving Egypt. It's the parasha of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So tefillin has to do somewhat with leaving exile into salvation. Why did we receive this mitzvah when leaving Egypt? But the answer is because the pasuk says that God took us out of Egypt with an outstretched arm. Hashem obviously literally, chas v'shalom, doesn't have an arm, God forbid. But we talk about Hashem like that in a way for us to understand. So there is a concept called that Hashem's got an outstretched arm that he took us out of Egypt with. There's a pasuk in Navi that says, Nishba Hashem bezroya uzoi, with his strong arm. Arm represents strength, represents muscles. When Hashem took the Jews out of the Mitzrayim, it wasn't just that he took us out in the middle of the night. And we raided, he made a raid, he took a bunch of planes, and he took the Jews out of Egypt in the middle of the night when everybody was awake, asleep. Hashem rained down a lot of plagues on them. Hashem smashed the Egyptians to pieces. He showed his strength. He showed that nothing is overwhelming for him. Nothing is too strong for him, obviously. The whole world is totally negated before the presence of Hashem, and of course before the strength of Hashem. The outstretched arm of Hashem means that the whole world, anything that's created in the world, nothing can stand up to Hashem. When we stretch our arm out to put tefillin on, we are connecting to Hashem's arm. Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, have a very difficult time here in this world. We were just talking about it outside. The Goyim don't like us. And there's a lot of Jews that don't like us either. Here in Israel especially. It's overwhelming. How do we survive over here in a world that's so overwhelming? Nobody likes us. How do we plow through our day? The Yetzer Hara is attacking us at every corner. We have to crash and bash and overcome hurdles and obstacles all our lives, every minute. How do we do that? What gives us the strength? Why do we just give up? It's overwhelming. The Gemara says, Tzoifer Rasha La Misa. It's based on a pasuk. The pasuk says, Tzoifer Rasha. Vakish La Misa. There's a Yetzer Hara is looking to kill us. He's looking to make us stumble all the time. And Chazal say, Malei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oizra. Hashem wouldn't help us all the time. Eina Yachale would never be able to overcome the Yetzer Hara. So basically, we're fighting a battle every minute of our lives that it's not possible for us with our own strength to win, to overcome. The Arabs here in Israel are much more than many more than us. The Goyim in the world that hate us are much more than us. It's not possible for us to survive. You know what? We're the only nation that's still here. No other nation survived. There's no Babylonians today. There's no Egyptians today. They're not Egyptians. There's no Syrians today. There's no Greeks today. There's people living in Greece, but they're not Greeks. All the empires, of course, no Egyptian empire. We're the only ones still around. The world hates us. The world's against us, and we're still around. We're really strong. We're really strong. And we can take on the whole world. And we do, and we've done it in the past, and we've done it all the time. And we won every time. Nobody has beaten our spirits. Nobody has succeeded to destroy us. And that's where the mitzvah of tefillin comes into it. When we stretch our arms out to put tefillin in the morning, do you know which arm we are connecting to? Take a guess. Louder. Exactly. We said before that Hashem took us out b'zroya netuya, with his outstretched arm, whatever that means. When we stretch our arm out to put our tefillin on, we are connecting our arm to Hashem's arm. The word tefillin means connection, connecting to Hashem. And therefore, we tell the nations of the world that we are wearing our tefillin, we become one with God. And therefore, if you come to fight us, if you come to challenge us, do you know who you are challenging? Exactly, you're challenging Hashem. Through the mitzvah of tefillin, we become one with Hashem. And that's why we wrap the tefillin around our fingers, which is like an engagement ring for a girl. A man and woman, a man betroths a woman, they get married. Ishtay kagufoi, they become one entity. The pasuk says in Parshas Bereishis, V'hayu lebasar echad, they become one entity. They become one. If we become one entity, so if you gang up against us, you're ganging up against Hashem. And your fate is sealed, obviously. That's why it's so important to put tefillin on in the morning. If you complain, I've got such strong yetzer-haras. How was your tefillin wrapping this morning? Shkoyach, thank you so much. If your tefillin wrapping was the way it should be, you can bulldoze through any enemy that comes to challenge you. And that is really why the Gemara says in Brachos, that when the Goyim see our tefillin on our heads, they fear us. They get frightened of us. It's a pasuk. V'ro chol amei ha'oretz, when the nations of the land see, ki shem Hashem nikra alecha, that the name of God is placed upon us, v'yoru memeka, they fear you. And the Gemara darshans in that pasuk in Brachos, this is referring to the Tefillin Shel Rosh. And there was a story in the 6-day war, a true story. Am I allowed to sneeze if I'm on video? The Gemara said there's a true story in the 6-day war where there were soldiers davening on their tank, a single tank, a lone tank. And there were Syrian tanks charging towards them. And for no reason, the Syrian tanks sped around and fled. And they don't know the reason, but we do. The soldiers were wearing tefillin on their heads. The tefillin shel yad that we put on our arm, which is the strong organ, the strong limb of a person, and we tie tefillin to our arms, and we wrap it around our finger, we are becoming one with Hashem. And then we put the tefillin on our heads to show the nations of the world we're one with Hashem. Don't you dare challenge us. We're not fighting overwhelming odds. You're fighting overwhelming odds. You're fighting Hashem. If you fight Hashem, your fate will be the same as all the other nations of the world. That's the connection between the Tefillin Shel Yad and the Tefillin Shel Rosh. It gives us the strength, it gives us the courage, it gives us the confidence. We become one with Hashem. What are the chapters written in our Tefillin? Shema, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. What is that pasuk? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Yisrael is mentioned in that pasuk, and Hashem is mentioned in the pasuk. And together we're Echad, together with one. Shema makes us one with Hashem. We're so one with Hashem that the next pasuk, V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, we love you, Hashem, so much, B'chol levavcha, with all our heart. Our heart is you, Hashem. Or V'chol nafshecha, we'll give our lives up for you. You know why? Because we're inseparable. Why do Jews over the generations give their lives up to God? Mesiras Nefesh does not mean a Jew losing his life. On the contrary. When an Arab idiot blows himself up, may he rest in pieces, then he's doing so because he's an idiot. Because the guy in the mosque, that's all they talk about. He's like hypnotized. He doesn't do it. He's crazy. Jewish people have given their lives up, millions of them, with tranquility. The idea of Mesiras Nefesh, when a Jew is told either you bow to an idol or we shoot you, and he chooses to be shot, what has he chosen, life or death? Exactly, he's chosen life. What is the Goy telling him? Sever yourself from God. Become a separate entity to God, or we'll kill you. Become a separate entity to God? It's not possible. We are one with Hashem. We are one with Hashem. It's impossible. And that's what the Holy Tanya writes. The Holy Balatanya writes that even secular Jews, assimilated Jews, when it comes to Mesiras Nefesh, they don't keep Yom Kippur, they don't keep Shabbos. But when it comes to Mesiras Nefesh, they readily give up their lives for that. Because when it comes to severing from Hashem, that's impossible. A person's Mesiras Nefesh, he's chosen life. That's the revelation of the pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The pasuk of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is saying that we've become one entity with Hashem and we're inseparable. And we're inseparable to a point, the next pasuk, V'aftas Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha, we're inseparable to a point that if it's a choice of being shot or bowing to Avodah Zarah, we're going to stay alive and get shot. We're going to connect to real life. And Hashem is the source of real life. These are the parashias in the Tefillin. This is what's inside our Tefillin. Because this is exactly what Tefillin is doing. This is exactly what Tefillin is doing. Tefillin binds us. The knots in the Tefillin are being bound to Hashem. And that's why it's so important to adhere and to value the mitzvah of Tefillin. How can a person take on the challenges of a day without connecting to God's hands? How can a person begin his day without scaring off and frightening off all those that want to harm him? You can take the world on yourself. We can't. It's overwhelming. We don't stand a chance. Without becoming one with Hashem, we don't stand a chance. And then when we become one with Hashem, they don't stand a chance. When you wear tefillin, they don't stand a chance. When Yehuda, as we know, Yehuda was the fierce soldier. Yehuda HaMaccabi in the story of Purim. Chanukah, sorry. Mordechai is also called Aish, Yehudi. He has connection to Yehuda. The people that stand up against overwhelming odds are always Yehuda. Who? David HaMelech. Nachshon ben Aminadav jumped into the Yam Suf. They're always the first ones. The pasuk says regarding Yehuda, in Parshas Vayechi, when Yaakov was blessing Yehuda, Yodcha ba'oref evecha, your hand is in the neck of your enemy. And the holy Haflah, the Panim Yafas, he writes, Yehuda used to go out to war with his tefillin on. And when he went out to war with his tefillin on, he obviously won the war. Because if you go out to war with your tefillin on, then you're telling the enemy that you are fighting Hashem, you're not fighting us. And that's the war of all wars. And that's exactly what happened when we were fighting with Amalek. Moshe Rabbeinu went to the top of the mountain. The Jewish people looked up to Hashem. When they connected to Hashem, then they won the war. Because then Amalek's fighting Hashem. But when a Jew doesn't connect to God and he goes out to war without, then Esau's stronger. Esau's got stronger hands than we have. Connection to Hashem, becoming one with Hashem. That's the mitzvah of tefillin. That's the mitzvah of tefillin, becoming the one with Hashem. There is a deep part of our soul called the Yechida Shebenefesh. It's the deepest part. Every Jew has 5 levels of soul. Nefesh, the lowest, then Ruach, and then Neshama, then Chai, then Yechida. Yechida Shebenefesh. That's the 5th level, the highest level. It's beyond our imagination. That's where a Jew is one. It's called the Yechida Shebenefesh because that's where a Jew is one with Hashem. And that gets triggered when a person puts his tefillin on. The tefillin is like a crown on the head. The Marashah says in Yuma that the tefillin is like a crown on the head. A crown, a keter, is something that's beyond us. That's something that's beyond us, something that's supernatural. Tefillin is a supernatural power. It's a power that we connect to, which is Hashem's power, which is almighty, which is obviously supernatural. And that's the power that we connect to when we wear a tefillin. After you take your tefillin off, you should be confident and you should realize that I've now connected to Hashem. I've now become one with Hashem. I'm now ready to face the obstacles. I'm ready to take on anybody because of the oneness with Hashem. There's a story in the Gemara of, he's called Elisha Bal Kanafayim. In the times of the Romans, they forbade putting tefillin on. Now you know why. Not going into it now because it's a separate shmooze. But the Romans, Rome, Edom, Esau, Amalek, it's all the same. They tried to tear the Jewish people away from that Yechida Shebenefesh, from that connection that we have, that we're one with God. And that's what Haman tried to do, and that's what Amalek tries to do. And that's why Mordechai was ready to be Moser Nefesh. The Sfarim say he used to walk past Haman deliberately and not bow down and stand erect. Mesiras Nefesh. Showing Haman that we're one with Hashem. You're not going to get us to bow to you. Haman was an Avodah Zarah, the Gemara says. He wore an Avodah Zarah name. He wanted us to bow to Avodah Zarah. He wanted to sever us from Hashem. But Mordechai would not bow. Mordechai would not bow. Because that's the Yechida Shebenefesh. And that's why in the Megillah Esther, he's called an Ish Yehudi. And the Medrash says, Ish Yechidi. Because he revealed the Yechida Shebenefesh of every Jew. Mordechai revealed how Jews are one with Hashem. And that erases Amalek. And that's why the Romans who come from Amalek, how do you spell Rome? Reish Mem. Put a vav, with a vav, without a vav. Reish Mem is 240, numerical value. What's the numerical value of Amalek? 240. Amalek doesn't want us, Rome doesn't want us to wear tefillin. He tries to tear away our oneness from Hashem. So there's a story in the Gemara of Elisha called Bal Kanafayim. He was wearing tefillin openly in Rome when they're under the Romans. And they were chasing him. They were going to kill him. And he took the tefillin off, and miraculously, he put them in his hand, and the Roman opened his hand, and what flew out? Excellent, a dove. Chazal say a dove, a Yonah, the Jewish people are compared to a dove. You know why? Because we never betray God. A dove never betrays its mate. A dove is loyalty. A dove, the male and the female, never betray each other. We never betray Hashem. We're one with Hashem. And that's what tefillin represents. So the tefillin turned into that. And that was the message to the Roman. That was the message to the Roman. Tefillin is the oneness with us, Hashem. So don't forget, when you're stretching your arm out, say, Hashem, I'm connecting to what's called a Zroya Hanatuya, a stretched out arm that you rained down the plagues and took us out of Egypt. And we're connecting to that koach. And Egypt was the empire, and Hashem smashed the empire with his Zroya Hanatuya. And when we stretch our arm out to put tefillin on, we're going to smash all the Yetzaharas that come our way. And then we're going to put the tefillin shel roish, which is like a crown, which represents something that's beyond our imagination, which represents the oneness to Hashem, which shows the world that we're one with Hashem. Don't dare. And when you focus on that, and you love Hashem with that, and you feel one with Hashem, you feel connected, you feel bound, you feel knotted to Hashem with that, then you're going to see that Be'ez Hashem, all our enemies fall away. Our own individual enemies, our Yetzaharas, and the enemies of the Jewish people. The Lubavitch Rebbe came out before the 6-Day War about this whole idea that you should put tefillin on Jews. And the Rebbe related it to the unbelievable victory, the unbelievable miracles that the Jewish people witnessed during the 6-Day War. We haven't had a war for a long time where the odds were so overwhelming against us. Somebody showed me a clip of tens of thousands or more of Egyptian soldiers, Jordanian soldiers, I don't know who they are, Machshamam. They were marching, and they were like mamish cursing, marching that they're going to drive the Jewish people into the sea, and the Haifa and Akko, and they were so deathly, so overwhelming. They had such ammunition and artillery that's so much more than us. And they were crumbled to pieces at the beginning of the war. Because that's what tefillin does. And that's what tefillin does to every individual Jew in his own battles that he has in his own life. So you should all strengthen yourselves. That's Hashem, never miss a day. But not just never miss a day. Don't just look at it as wrappings. Read that paragraph before you put tefillin on, knowing what you're saying. And connect to Hashem, feel that you're becoming one with Hashem. And then you see that Be'ez Hashem will be zocha speedily nowadays to Bayom Ahu Yi Hashem Echad Shmo Echad B'mehera B'yameinu Amen.